If you go to our website, we'll send you an email every 20 to 30 seconds or so about anything that goes on here at the shop. Also, please feel free to investigate our Books and Books Library Foundation, where we donate thousands and thousands of books to underserved areas across the community every year. Also, thanks to Mitchell. But tonight is tonight. Yes, of course. Tonight is tonight.
Good for you. Made you look again. I love it. Made you look again.
Make sure everybody here at the bookstore can read. Fight is the backstage story of the blood sport politics in its rawest form. The clawing, backstabbing, and rabble-rousing that drove Donald Trump into the White House and Democrats into the wilderness. At every turn, the combatants went for the jugular, whether they were facing down rivals or the others in the party of their own. Best-selling authors Jonathan Allen and Amy Parnes give readers their first graphic view of the characters, their motivations, and their innermost thoughts as they battle to claim the ultimate prize of defying a political era. Based on real-time interviews with more than 150 outsiders from the Trump, Harris, and Biden inner circles, as well as party leaders and operatives, Fight delivers the vivid and stunning tale of an election unlike any other. In the end, Trump overcame voters' concerns about his personal flaws by tapping into a deep vein of dissatisfaction within the direction of the country, and at the same time, Democrats struggled to connect with an electorate that felt gaslit by Biden's insistence that he would deliver economic prosperity and his pledge to be a great president. Jonathan Allen is an award-winning political reporter at NBC News. He previously worked as the Washington bureau chief for Bloomberg News and as the White House bureau chief for Politico. He's co-authored 3 prior books with his writing partner, Amy, 2 of which, HRC and Shattered, which we also have on sale, became New York Times bestsellers. Amy Parnes is a senior political correspondent covering national politics at The Hill. She previously worked as a staff writer of Political, and during the first Trump administration, she was a CNN political analyst. She's also appeared on CBS, NBC, and ABC. In conversation is our good friend Mark Caputo. He's a senior writer for Politico and covers national politics as well as politics in our home state of Florida. Mark helped establish the Political Florida Bureau after he was hired and wrote the Florida Playbook for 4 years while covering the Sunshine State's politics and policy. In 2019, Mark joined Politico's national desk and covered Joe Biden's presidential campaign from its inception, and will help cover the Biden White House as well as the Senate gubernatorial campaigns in Florida and the rest of the nation. This book, of course, is getting wonderful reviews. If you have a chance to look at it, please look at Fight, which the Huffington Post calls brutal, the New York Post calls a scathing book, Vanity Fair calls loaded with insider details. Please give our panelists and our moderator a nice warm welcome.
Give me your fork.
Does this come out? I don't know how it works.
All right, yeah. Just, can everyone hear me?
All right, this is really a pleasure for me because I worked with Amy at the ill-fated Messenger, a media startup that lasted for 9 months, I think less than a pregnancy. I don't want to finish that joke. And I worked with Jonathan before that at NBC. So and my current colleague at Axios, Size and Stand, has written a book as well. So I realized I am a failure because all of my friends are writing books and I'm interviewing them about it. But that having been said, I have read most of the 2024 books. This is what I do, and this is the best of them. And that's because of their collective reporting chops and the writing. It's fun. If you live and breathe politics, this is going to be your best primer on what happened in 2024. So let me just start off. Why'd you do the book? Like, what's in it?
Well,
you're good.
So we weren't going to do this book, and I apologize. I have a bit of an ear infection, so
Welcome to Florida.
I'm a little muffled. But we weren't going to do a campaign book, and everything started brewing in this race, as you know. things started, first Joe Biden, has this horrible debate, and our agent reached out and said, John and I had already decided we had moved on from campaign books, and our agent said, would you guys be interested in doing another one? And we said, how could we not? And that was before everything else happened. I mean, there was an attempted assassination, then another one, a candidate switch. And so we had no idea when we agreed to do this book just what a brutal race it would be and how fascinating. I mean, 08 had its own tale, 16 was interesting, but nothing was like 24.
And just to give an idea, last July 4th, so I guess 13 months ago, it was that week, I remember, because I was supposed to be on vacation.
July 21st.
I'm sorry?
Is it July 21st, I think is the date, right? When Biden drops out?
Oh, no, I'm talking about July 4th. That week, I'm supposed to be on vacation. I had not been on vacation in a long time. I'm spending all week covering the Joe Biden post-debate mess. And so I didn't really get to take a vacation. And as Amy said, we got a call from our agent, and I really think that once we saw the Biden debate, I mean, Amy answered for me. The agent got to her first and said, well, you guys want to do a book on this election? And Amy said, yes, we do. And she was totally right, because as she said, like, we could never have predicted all the twists and turns, but we knew that what we were watching just after that debate was going to be, I hate to use the word unprecedented, because seldom things are actually unprecedented, but we kind of knew that we were in uncharted, unprecedented territory, and so we scrambled.
What did you like most about doing it?
I mean, everyone watched it, right? So we all had like surface level understanding of what happened, but I think the fun part was digging into, well, what really happened on debate night? How sick was Joe Biden? What was behind the candidate switch? Was Kamala Harris really unprepared to step in?
Okay, hold on. Let me stop you there. Yeah. Answer each one of those questions.
In order. Look, I think the approach, and I'll start this way and kind of move through them, but I think the approach that we've taken, because this is our third campaign book, is, and this is something my father told me, and maybe a little bit of a trade secret. He read our first book on Hillary Clinton's State Department and how she used that time to try to set up to run for president. And he was the first reader because he did copy editing, and he like moved commas and stuff. And then after our second book, which is our first campaign book called Shattered, he said, oh, I really like this one. And I was like, what about the first one? And he was like, yeah, I didn't get it. And what he was saying was, and it's really important, one of the things that we strive to do is identify the moments in a campaign that are memorable for readers and take them behind those moments. In addition, as reporters and people who are trying to write something for history too, we try to stitch in the things that you should know and that you need to know, but we really try to hit those big moments hard. So, what did we find out about the debate? What we found out about the debate is that Biden kind of sucked at Camp David when he did his preparation, but the people around him had various explanations for that, including that he had a cold. And then the opposite was also argued, that he was overprepared, underprepared. But what we found was that he was underprepared, that he had not done enough work. Not that enough work would have made a difference. I mean, I think it was shocking to everybody to see the President of the United States, the leader of the free world, bereft of coherent thought, even for a few minutes. Absolutely. Right? You could make an argument all day long that every decision Joe Biden ever made was made cogently, but to see the leader of the free world in that state, I think, was shocking to everybody, whether you like the president or don't like the president. And so, we did some reporting on that. You can read through and see that. I don't want to do all of the answers to those questions all at once, though. Well, then what else will we talk about? I mean, you're amazingly calm here.
I come to a fresh buttered toast. So the pool house.
The pool house was, I think, one of our better finds, and Kamala Harris's people always made it seem like there was no preparation going into, they weren't doing anything. But the morning that Joe Biden steps down, her top advisors are meeting in her pool house in the Naval Observatory to plan what would happen when, Joe Biden was going to drop out. And it's funny because when we asked people about it, people would be like, they would kind of skim over the pool house. And a source told us about it, and then we would go back and ask someone about the pool house, and they were like, "Oh, you know about the pool house?"
Oh, well, then let me tell you about the pool house.
Yeah. So I think that was one of the more revelatory finds, that she was actually, actively preparing to step into that role.
I was just going to say, what's so exciting about that moment, or what's fascinating about that moment, is her team is like eating at her house without her, but she knows what's going on. And
it's like the mafia.
They're in the middle of this meeting, and they're like, well, he's not going to drop out like tomorrow or the next day, but maybe at some point he drops out. Like, who do we call? They brought people in by Zoom. Mignon Moore, who's one of the leaders of the Democratic Party, who's running the convention, was brought in by Zoom, and they're trying to figure out the rules of the party. And the meeting gets broken up by this young man who is Kamala Harris's sister's son, her nephew, I guess. Or grandnephew, or nephew. At any rate, he breaks up the meeting and he's like, she needs you. And they all go like running into the house and upstairs to her like personal quarters, and she's on the phone with Biden. And he is telling her that he's dropping out. And the story that you heard in the news from that time was Biden called up and said, I'm dropping out. She said, are you sure? And he said, yes, and I'm endorsing you. And that's not what happened at all. Biden said he was going to get out. And then she said, well, he said, I'm going to make a statement. And she said, well, are you going to endorse me? And he said, well, you've got my support. And she says, no, like, are you going to endorse me? And they go back and forth, and they even get off the phone at one point and get back on the phone again. What Biden wanted to do was breathe for a few days. He wanted to, like, get out, let his statement get out, take kind of I like to call it a valedictory lap about how, magnanimity was in getting out, and then maybe endorse her. And she understands in this moment that Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi and some of the other Democrats are looking to have some sort of competitive open convention. And she realizes she's in a race against time, so she says to him, hey, you need to endorse me, like now. And eventually they work it out, and if you'll remember, there was a Biden statement for him, and then 20 minutes later an endorsement for her, and we go through all the details of that.
Isn't it like at 1:18 p.m., some obscure time or something like that?
Yeah, it could have been done better. And then, then we take you through that whole race that she does, which is like a good sign of strong internal politics. So she gets on the phone with everybody that she needs to get on the phone with. She's, by the time, by the afternoon, she's basically got the nomination wrapped up. I know, we in the news media draw it out a little bit, but once she had Biden and then she calls Bill and Hillary Clinton and they're like, we're on board, she's got half the living presidents already on her side in the Democratic primary, half the living Democratic presidents. So it's pretty much over at that point. But even Obama, she gets Obama on the phone, and he's kind of like Biden. He's like, yeah, no, I'll do what I can to help you. And she's like, are you going to endorse me? And he was trying to he was doing calls that day to try to set up this open convention. And so she's racing against the clock.
Okay, so what do you, I guess we'll maybe it's a part of the open book. What's your takeaway on Kamala Harris? Like, what have you learned about Kamala Harris in both the writing of this book and in your reporting ahead of time, and what you're seeing now?
She, I think one of the biggest things is that she didn't have a lot of self-esteem coming into this role.
What do you mean by that?
She was diminished in the job, and we heard this from source after source.
Oh, was she diminished by the Biden operation?
Yeah, by the Biden operation. And, there were all these stories that were being told at the time. She wasn't prepared, she was terrible at interviews, but they weren't setting her up in the right way. And then she was very much tethered to him. She came into this role as vice president, and the Biden people were always suspicious of her. They always thought that she would be the one that would undercut him.
Right.
And yet, at the end of the day, she's really like the most loyal person to him. So loyal that she can't run her own campaign, and she can't move away from him, even when she is asked, how will your campaign, or how will you be different than Biden? She can't answer. And so I think that was really problematic for her. And it was really interesting to kind of dig deep into the psychology behind, how she was set up and what she felt about the role. And I think, in her book, she's obviously going to tread those waters a little bit.
I don't know if you can, maybe I shouldn't ask this.
Do it.
Well, I'll do it anyway.
Do it, Mark.
Yeah, thank you. Anyway, I got a church.
Go for it.
Were you guys were you able to talk to Harris for the book?
So we don't say who we did and didn't speak to because
That's why I was like, I shouldn't ask that question.
Yeah, but that's okay. But I want to, if I can add something to the previous question, just that I think one of the things that you learn in the book and that you really see in the book is counter to what the sort of public narrative of the Harris campaign and Harris herself is, which is they have gone out there and said that if she just had more time, that if Joe Biden had just gotten out earlier, we saw David Plouffe say that in one of the other books that came out, about this period. David Plouffe basically said, "Fuck Joe Biden," because he didn't get out early enough. And what really happened is that the less there was of Harris, the more she did well. Meaning, but this is not like a criticism in that. Like, I don't look at it and say this is not something she could overcome. That there aren't problems she could overcome if she wanted to run again. In this election, there was a period of time after she gets in where she gets this huge boost, and she basically evens with Trump. And Trump, we write in the book about how Trump starts to get nervous, and he sends Corey Lewandowski down to Palm Beach to, audit the campaign, and he's thinking about making a change. And of course, Mark laughs because Corey Lewandowski couldn't run, a quickie more.
Although now he's basically running the Department of Homeland Security.
Well, the quickie more matters. Yeah.
So it depends on what you mean by quickie in that case. I guess it's an inside joke.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was thinking about milk, but never mind. So they basically get to even, and Trump is worried about it. And the Harris people, their numbers show that they're pretty much even. And we're talking like late September, early October. And then she plateaus, and then she starts sinking slowly. These are close races. They're just decided by a couple 100,000 votes over a few states, right? It's not like she fell off the map and lost by 10 percentage points and by 150 electoral votes. So, but I think what is true is that she had some serious flaws that she never addressed, and one of them, I think, perhaps the biggest one. Trump said to her in their debate in September, which was widely read as a victory for her, and I think by most conventional standards she won that debate. But Trump hit her on something that never went away, which is, how are you different than Joe Biden? And she got asked about it on The View, and she fumbled that question. And it is inconceivable to me that you would be a candidate for president, watching the numbers of the incumbent president, watching the numbers that he was huge disapproval. People are upset about the economy, and she's got no answer for how would you do things differently. And I think, if she were to make a comeback, try to run again, she's got to have a vision for the country, right? That is her own vision for the country. And I really don't think she had that. She had a couple tweaks. And we go through it in the book, how some of the Biden people, including Biden himself, put pressure on her. He told her no daylight between them.
So talk about that. Was Kamala Harris put in an impossible situation? Maybe counterfactual to this, for the benefit of hindsight.
Yeah.
Could she have won the race? And if so, how?
I'm sorry. No, I've been talking a lot. You go.
I think, if she likes to think that if the election, as John said, went on longer, that she could have won. She was put in a weird situation. She came in. She doesn't really have her people. We go into this in great detail in the book. But she relies on Joe Biden's people, who are not her people. And when her people come in and try to kind of take over, they're kind of pushed aside and relegated to a back room. And I think that was part of it. And I think she never really found her footing. They felt like they could run out the clock in a lot of ways. And you saw that kind of go into the convention, run out the clock. But after the convention, there was a lot of time left on the clock. And I don't think they really realized that. And Trump really capitalized on that.
Again, counterfactual, but what could have happened differently, realistically, that she could have done that would have made a difference?
So, I mean,
Or was it a fait accompli? Was
So
like Trump
So I think
being
it's
in the stars, right?
No, I mean, I think it's what I think it's what I was saying before, or alluding to before, which is, like, there was a point at which they were basically dead even.
Yep.
Maybe a point one way or the other. And from that point on, she was unable to articulate a vision for the country. I mean, Donald Trump was like, here's how I'm going to do things different from the president that is unpopular. Very clearly. And some people loved it, some people didn't love it, some people don't like his personality, whatever. But he offered a change. Kamala Harris did not offer a change in an election where the American people were screaming for change. And
But
so
could she realistically have done that?
Yes, I think she could have separated herself from Biden, certainly more than she did. Now, there are some things that were, there were some time bombs waiting for her. The best political ad I've ever seen in my entire life is the transgender ad that Trump ran. I saw it the first time watching, I think, the World Series, but maybe the NFL. And it hit her on supporting transgender rights. It hit her on using taxpayer money to do it for undocumented immigrants, and to do it for people in prison. He hit like 4 issues with one ad, and he just kept hammering it, and there was no response. And as we report, people were flooding, really senior Democrats, including Bill Clinton, flooding the Harris campaign with requests for them to please respond to this ad, and they just didn't. And they had data analytics that told them that the responses weren't that effective, so they didn't even try.
So that comes up with an interesting thing. Let's connect this to your first book. You talk about data analytics. You guys wrote Shattered. You know what a campaign looks like that believes that an election is decided on a spreadsheet and not in the precincts and the polling stations, in certainly the 7 crucial swing states. Can you talk a little bit about the Harris campaign, to a degree the Biden campaign's mindset about data and numbers over people?
Yeah, in a way, it was very much an echo of 16. The Clinton campaign was very heavily reliant on data. Bill Clinton at the time was like, come on, you need to, he has a real good feel for these types of
He's
things.
Bubba.
Yes, yeah. Talking to people, going out face to face, connecting with them. And that was, if people had read Shattered, they would have understood that you can't really just rely on data. You have to, there has to be some of that human touch. Right. And I think that was a huge downfall for this particular campaign. It's like they never learned their lesson. They were running the same playbook. They were repeating the same mistakes.
Against the same guy.
Wow.
And 10 years later, where so much, has happened in social media and everything else, and not blogs and podcasts, and Trump was very good at, and nimble, once again, at sort of getting on these podcasts and taking advantage of that, taking advantage of various new media. They were kind of stuck. She was without a message. She didn't know how to properly utilize, we have this chapter in the book where we talk about the efforts to go on to Joe Rogan and his podcast, and what she had to do to try to get there. I think that spoke for itself. The fact that they felt like they needed to do that. They spent so much time trying to get on one podcast, couldn't quite get there. It's almost like it spoke for the entire campaign.
I mean, I think one of the differences, and this is true of both of the Democratic candidates, the Democrats and Trump, is that the Democratic candidates are waiting for Biden and Harris, and particularly Harris, they're waiting for their staff to tell them what to think. And Trump's staff is waiting for him to tell them what to think and how to respond to things. Yes, they're worried every time he goes on a podcast about what he's going to say and what they have to respond to, but he doesn't have to think about what he's allowed to say.
Right.
And so, to the extent that people think that he is authentic, that word gets used a lot, and his critics say that he isn't because they hear him say things that aren't true. The authenticity is that he is saying what he thinks in the moment, or what he thinks will be good for him in the moment. And so, I don't know, came off as more himself.
Yeah, I know this isn't the book, my aside I realized the other day, I think counterintuitively two of the things that we all missed, including me covering the campaign, was I do wonder to what degree Trump was almost preordained, not by God or anything like that, but just because of Satan, depending on where you stand on the political side of that.
We'll be at Temple Shalom in about 9 minutes.
His badassery is like once he survived the assassination attempt, in addition to everything else, there was sort of that vibe shift. And then the main thing we missed was his insane comment at the debate about how Haitians they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. But what we forget is that there's this whole life on social media people have, and people started to do TikTok dances to it. And there's songs about it, and it made him entertainment and like relatable in this weird way, similar to when Kamala first enters the race, and they do the songs about like, oh, I just fall out of a coconut tree, and they re-loop that, and suddenly he became kind of weirdly, absurdly hip.
Yeah, there's these two different Americas that none of the rest of us are living in, which is like the sort of like online echo chamber of the political parties. But I will say, I don't know what you're eating. I'm not into pet food.
Mushrooms. That's what we're You talked about the drama in the campaign of the handover. One of my favorite characters is Jen O'Malley Dillon, who you guys, I think I bookmarked it, I read it, I was like, oh yes. Now, one of the things, and just candidly, in political reporting, you can always tell who was a source for a book and who wasn't. I can tell Jen O'Malley Dillon was not a source for this book, and I can tell she was a source for some of these other books. You guys really kind of take her to the woodshed in here. And can you
You'd
just...
be surprised.
I try to slow them out.
Is it terrible to say that someone has that comment?
Well, yeah. Give me...
Let's put it this way, it's not totally undeserved.
Totally. Tell them about Jen O'Malley Dillon and the role she played in the campaign, both from Biden and the handover to Harris, as outlined in the book.
Well, she's not the most beloved figure in the campaign. I think that's an understatement. I think she is very much an acquired taste. She's a strong personality. She comes in. And
what was her role under Biden?
She was Biden's campaign chair.
Well, she was, deputy chief of staff in the White House, but she had run his campaign in 2020, and then would go on to run the campaign in 2024. Although they gave that title to another woman, Jen O'Malley Dillon, basically did the job.
Yeah.
And then so Harris takes over, and what does Jen do?
So Jen doesn't know where she stands. So right away they have a meeting. We had heard from people that she was crying in the meeting. We tried to confirm that she wasn't crying in the meeting, but she was trying to find her footing. And Kamala Harris has a pretty good relationship with her. They, she works in the White House. They know each other. They've built a rapport. She trusts her. But the problem is that there is kind of a growing civil war inside the campaign again, because this was a problem in 2020 also, where there were people who just did not like her, who felt like she was all about Jen, and was also doing things that were not productive for the campaign. And once again, she's doing the same thing on this campaign. And that was problematic. I think a lot of people talked to us and said Kamala Harris should have picked someone who was her person to run the campaign, who understood her vibe, her message, what she wanted to get across.
Do you think that would have made a difference?
I don't think so.
Ordained.
I also think there's something very typical of like elite Washington insider campaign people that Jen is like a very good example of, which is she kicks up and kicks down. And she's very good at managing the people above her. And when I say managing the people above her, I don't really mean managing. I mean the sycophancy is real. The desire to not give any bad information to the candidate is very real. When she was presented with polls that weren't good, she didn't react well to that, and pollsters would kind of back off what they were saying. I think we have an example of that in the book.
I'll read it. One campaign aide was surprised to hear highly respected pollster Jeff Pollock back down on his own poll numbers when O'Malley Dillon challenged them in a meeting about Wisconsin. Her analytics team painted a rosier picture of the campaign. Why was his poll more bleak, she asked. Quote, Jeff starts making excuses for his own fucking poll, said one person who was on the virtual call, just shocked.
Right, and so, I mean, this is, she's hand-holding candidates and being like, I know how to do
Especially
this.
Biden.
Especially Biden.
Yeah.
With him, it was harder for her, though, in a way, because he already had, sort of a Praetorian guard around him that she was not part of. People who had been with him for 30, 40 years, 70 years, I don't know, a long time. But she got her way in pretty close to the point where he did trust her to do the politics. And then, Harris is in a bad situation because she's inheriting a campaign and she's got to have somebody run it. And O'Malley Dillon, if she walks out, she's got a whole bunch of lieutenants ready to walk out with her. I don't think it was ever an explicit threat, but it's certainly something, Harris had to worry about. O'Malley Dillon was, had the endorsement of, Barack Obama, who she had worked for before, and that sort of wing of the party. And Harris, look, I don't know if it makes a difference or not, but I think it's a fateful decision that she doesn't bring in somebody who, as Amy said, is her own person. And it's kind of reflective of Harris getting this job and not really being ready to be the presidential candidate and know that everybody else, up to and including Joe Biden and Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, exists to serve you because you are your party's nominee and you no longer need to serve their interests.
So you learn more from your losses than your wins, or you should. Obviously a loss. She didn't close the door on running in 2028. Does Kamala Harris run in 2028? And is she a better candidate as a result of loss?
When I talked to her advisors a month ago, they were all telling me, yeah, she's running for governor. She was really very much leaning toward running for governor. But there was always a caveat that if she doesn't run for governor, it's because she wants to run for president.
Is she going to be a better candidate?
If she learns her lessons.
Will she?
I mean, first, you have to have a message. I think that's been the problem for Democratic campaigns from 16 on. Even the 2020 campaign. I think you have to tell voters, it can't just be an anti-Trump campaign. It can't just be democracy. You have to tell voters why they should vote for you. And I don't think that has landed with members of the Democratic Party.
Okay, I'm going to be devil's advocate. How does Trump really have a coherent message?
If you stopped a random person on the street and you said,
Make America Great Again.
Yeah. Yes. Tell me what he stands for. They would know. If you went and stopped anyone on the street and said, tell me what Kamala Harris was for, what would they tell you?
He's so good at messaging that he took her idea for accounts for babies and put them into law. And there were going to be Trump accounts, $1,000 or whatever it is for each baby. That came from the Democratic side, and everybody will know that these are Trump accounts, right? And I think, if you ask people, what are the issues that he's trying to make change on, I think they immediately would have told you immigration and prices and would not have had any trouble identifying those. And everything else is sort of, entertainment.
Okay, shift over from Harris and Jen O'Malley Dillon and a little bit away from Trump, Susie Wiles. She's in the book.
Do you know her?
Susie Wiles.
Do you know her at all?
I've been known to
Can you describe
know
her though? Because you know her really well, so I'd love you.
Well, we'll do that after I finish interviewing you guys. But give me an idea of what of the role Susie plays in the campaign, the role she plays in the book. Shoot.
She's the only person who's effectively, not always effectively, but she's the only person who has managed Trump without managing to get fired from that job.
It almost happened.
It almost happened. And she was fired once in a past campaign. But I think what she does is she tries to, number one, manage the staff for him. And understand that when he says something or does something, their job is to make it work as best as possible. and not try to stop him from doing the things that he is intent on doing, which I think gives her longevity, and I think it gives her influence with him on the things that he's not sure about or the things that he doesn't care as much about. And as a result of that, I think she has been able to be influential with him on things, not all of the picks, but some of the staffing picks, some of the public policy decisions, certainly the, certainly the politics, which is really her realm. So you see some of that in the book, and I think you've seen it in his presidency, and I think you will see it in the lead up to the midterms. And even if it's not Susie, then it's Susie's crew. Somebody, maybe it was you, had a term for them that I heard recently. But like basically, she has a whole bunch of other people who are kind of allegiant to her, who are in top positions. So like James Blair in the White House is a good example. Somebody, he's in the book, is somebody who's going to be doing a lot of politics heading into the midterms.
She's such an interesting figure to me, though. She doesn't curse. And yet, like, we have her in the book cursing in some moments. She's rather subdued, but, like, firm. And that's kind of why I wanted you, I know you know her super, super well.
Yeah. No, I think you guys hit it on the head. She kind of reminds me of
Margaret Thatcher.
Yeah, Margaret Thatcher. Actually, what I like to think of as like a shogun from Japan. In that she has all of these swordsmen around her who are just willing to go and just cut off heads for her. And candidly, I don't know if this is off the record or whatever. I'm not careful what I say, but I've told her, like, she would be a multi-millionaire if she just does a book, The 10 Secrets to Effective Management, or what he said. And one of the things that she does very effectively, and it's kind of links back to this sort of shogun idea, is this sort of selfless subordinate. One of the things her daughter had told me, I said, "What's the best piece of advice your mom has ever given you?" And she said, "Know when to be indispensable and when to be invisible." And so she's a master of these two qualities, and it's just served her incredibly well.
Yeah, it's worked very well so far. And the other thing, I'll give you a little anecdote. There's a way in which, and I'm sure they would both reject this, but there's a way in which she's like Nancy Pelosi, and that
she's very smart. She knows how the pieces move on the board.
But I just meant in a way as a presence. There's an expectation of your behavior when you're around her that you just feel when you're in the room. Like, I am supposed to be, my tie's supposed to be straight, and I'm supposed to be gentlemanly. And the story that I'll tell you is, there was I think I can tell this part of it. There was like an off-the-record thing. It ended up on background, but like an off-the-record thing in Palm Beach for reporters in like August, and we write about what happened in the book. So that's why I say this ended up on background, not off the record. But I was with my NBC colleagues, and we got lost in the hotel, and we were like 5 minutes late, and everybody's already sitting, and they've already started. And I looked over at Susie, and I was like, "This is bad." And I didn't say anything to her, and I just texted her, and I was like, "That will never happen. I'm so sorry we were late. That will never happen." She didn't say a word to me. She didn't even give me like a stink eye or anything. It was just this is how I need to behave in your presence. And the person that I'm reminded of that is like that is Pelosi.
Oh, interesting. What have I forgotten? Because I've done these. I've been on that side a few times, and I know a bunch of people usually have a bunch of questions, which is probably more interesting than hearing me ask you guys questions. Is there anything else to kind of emphasize or go over before we just start taking cues?
I think they ask us how we put together a book like this. I think that's always a question. People ask why background? And our answer is always, well, we want people to be as candid as possible. We want these stories to come out. We want a record for history on what exactly happened, not the spin about what happened. And John and I have always been really diligent about telling people that, and going back and not just talking to one source, but going back and obviously doing our reporting and our due diligence and talking to as many people as possible about specific incidents in this book. So if you notice, no one really attacked our reporting when it came out, which I think was kind of a credit to what we have been
And it was
able
still a
to do.
bestseller. It's not like they didn't see it.
Right, right. But like, we wanted, and our goal in these books is always to be as airtight, obviously, as possible, and not to give an inch to anyone.
I mean, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but what's incredible is that you guys wrote this much this fast, and it's this fun of a read.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's not clunky. I can't remember, I should have highlighted there a few Easter eggs. I saw John playing games in there.
We also don't keep our reporting. That's another myth. People think that we hold on to our reporting. But we really did the bulk of the reporting after the election, if you can believe it, and turned it around by January.
Wow.
Yeah. All right.
We almost died.
We pumped out, I think this is right, we pumped out 100,000 words in 5 weeks, which is 35 days. So we're talking about, and by the way, when I say 5 weeks, I mean every day. We took off 5 weeks from work, and we were doing interviews while we were writing. So it was a lot. But the one thing that I would say in terms of like ending up what I want people to know, I think Mark was getting at this. We want to take you inside the rooms. If there were 5 people in a room, we think we talked to all 7 who said that they were in the room. Right? And we want you to go through this election even knowing what the end is and still have that sort of that tension about it and still have that mystery about it and the drama and learn some things about what goes on in not only in this election but in elections in general. And I think we, at the risk of being immodest, sitting up here, I think this is our best book. You mentioned it was a bestseller, it was a #1. It's been optioned for film, so hopefully you'll get to see it on a big screen someday.
Great.
I feel like more of a failure.
Mark taught me everything I know about
Failure, yes. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask about the other book that you opened in the room, which is Original Sin by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson. I found it funny when Mark started, I think this is the best book of the 2024 election. I see the shade. Okay.
Well, it wasn't really, I mean, I work with Alex. Alex is a dear friend of mine. And that's a fantastic book as well. But that really,
That's a different
that just really drills down into, he called it the Praetorian Guard. It was what they call the Politburo that surrounded Biden. So it was it wasn't really as much a campaign book per se.
Yeah.
So,
I was
go. No, finish up if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask, have you guys read that book? I understand about it being a different subject, but I'm not trying to be condescending here. On Goodreads, on Amazon, it has all the sales. It might be because of bad publicity, and I also noticed that you were talking about at the end about our sources. We didn't get unnamed sources. We got real data, real fact check. That kind of a thing. What do you guys think? What's the difference?
I'm not taking a shot at the here or anywhere else, but if you want me to,
Now that you asked.
now that you ask. So #1, I would just say on Amazon, people like that. But yeah, they sold more copies of their book. I think it was a spectacular story that they told. We did not come to the same conclusion that they did. Their conclusion was that there was a conspiracy, the cover-up, they called it, in their subtitle. And when we went through all of the stuff that we could learn, and I've now read their book and I've read other books, I just don't see a cover-up. I see people doing their jobs in what they thought to be their jobs. And you disagree with me?
Yeah. Well, I guess
let me
it
finish.
depends on how you define cover-up.
So Amy and I took that question seriously because everybody was talking about it. We in fact have the words original sin in our book. We didn't call it that. Because there were Democrats who said the original sin is Biden staying in. And I think that's part of the story. That's a big part of the story here. But we thought about the term cover-up. And to me, that connotes something illegal. And we just didn't, what we found was more people trying to do what they thought was the right thing, and they were wrong about what the right thing was. We found people who did not speak up, who should have. But in terms of an active cover-up, I still haven't seen the email from Jill Biden or Tom Donilon or any of the other people around Joe Biden saying, hey, know this guy's cooked, but let's stand him up there like Bernie at Weekends at Bernie's. and tell the American people he's alive when he's actually dead. Like, so far as I know, that doesn't exist. It's certainly not something we found. And so we were careful about that line. Like, do I think the Democrats were suffering from a mass delusion perpetrated by powerful Democrats who were closer to him and should have maybe said something or so, done something differently? Absolutely. Do I think there was like an active cover-up? We didn't get there.
Having read both books, I don't, and maybe I'm, showing what I would like to call intelligence by reconciling contradictory things and holding contradictory things at the same time. I didn't find a conflict between your two books.
No.
It's just
I think they complement each other.
I don't think there's go ahead, but I don't think there's a conflict. We just didn't find cover-up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I know you guys want to ask questions. But I have some bitter emotions of covering the Biden campaign in 2020 for Politico, because I remember being at Biden's launch in Pittsburgh, and I called my editor, Charlie. He's like, well, how would you think? I'm like, this ain't the same fucking guy, Charlie. I was like, there's something wrong with him. Like, he's just, and I had to go to these events. You'd be in Iowa, and it's like 20 degrees outside. You'd be like, and then my son died. And it was just these depressing things. And I knew he was going to get crushed in Iowa. Knew he was going to get crushed in New Hampshire. And what was notable is that what we call, there are basically two kinds of states. There's retail politics states where you got to meet voters and these sorts of things. And then there's your mass media states where you're in Texas, you're in Florida. Right? There's no town halls in Florida or anything like that. It's all like, just putting stuff on television like. And in the states where people got to see Biden the most, they were like, no way. And so I agitated. It took me a month to convince my editor to allow me to write a story that questioning whether Biden was too old. Fernando Mondi's in the back there, and the only way I could do it is if I got a Democrat to basically admit the truth, and he was dumb enough to tell the truth, and got blackballed by the Biden campaign as a result of that, to give you an example of how they work. So I think there was generally a cover-up. Understand that campaigns are marketing campaigns. Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, to a degree, but not as much. Joe Biden, all these people are sold the same way that Coca-Cola sells soda or McDonald's sells hamburgers. The difference is McDonald's doesn't use half of its ad revenue telling you that Burger King is cancer. So they just did an effective job of kind of marketing their candidate, the Biden product, putting it in front of the buyer, and before they could really look at the expiration date, right, they were able to move it away.
Which we've used that analogy.
Yeah.
I should also just say our last book was called Lucky, How Joe Biden
right on that.
Lucky, How Joe Biden barely won the presidency, which starts to get toward his decline and his inability to deal with voters in some of those early states and these sort of very depressing meetings. So, I mean, I think it was, I don't know, I feel like it was obvious to all of us that he was in decline, and only half the country was willing to admit it.
People often ask us, they say, how come the press didn't really push on this? And we all have stories about how, we called Andrew Bates at the White House, and he would push back fiercely on, I remember I wanted to do a story on his exercise routine. I was like, anything. This is like something that George Bush went jogging and Obama played basketball. They couldn't even play ball on something that was very small ball.
Right.
Thank you.
I'll let you guys pick.
Yeah.
You gave us a very technical view of the election, but what I wonder is the fact that Kamala Harris was black and Indian. Does that, with a Jewish husband, did that enter into the campaign? And the second part is, do you think that there was some truth that there were some states that the election was stolen in some form, either by depressing votes or anything like that?
No, we do not believe that the election was stolen. On the question of characteristics, we talk about this in the book some, the genetic characteristics, the immutable. Look, I'm going to believe that there is a higher bar for a woman to become the president of the United States until there's another president of the United States. That does not mean it's impossible, and it doesn't mean that Kamala Harris couldn't have won or that Hillary Clinton couldn't have won. It just means the bar is a little higher. Being of South Indian descent and of African American descent. Yes, like most of our presidents, all of our presidents but one have been white men. And so, yeah, I think the bar's a little higher. All of that said, Kamala Harris leaned into that in a really unusual way, which is, again, we go through this in the book. She is not somebody who wants to talk about those things. Like, historically, she's not wanted to be like, hey, I'm the black candidate, I'm the female candidate, I'm the South Asian candidate. We've seen her hit Donald Trump, asked what, whether she was black or Indian at an event, right? And so he's throwing it out there. He thinks it's good for him. I think some of his campaign staff thought it was maybe a bridge too far.
Cringy.
But he throws it out there. But Harris is asked, repeatedly, what would she do? She says she's different from Biden. And then she's asked, what would you do differently? And she doesn't have an answer. What is the difference in your message? And there is no answer because they're selling her the same way that they were selling Joe Biden. And so when it comes down to how are you different from Joe Biden, her answer in the debate on September 10th was, I have a different background than Joe Biden. And you're like, well, she's leaning into being judged on background, which I guess, at some level is socioeconomic, but the first thing that's hitting people, and in part because Trump wanted to, and in part because it's the first thing you see, she's leaning into that. And I think unintentionally, but she is. And so I think had she been a little more ready for that question, that essential question, what are you going to do differently? And made it substantive rather than experiential, she would have been in a better spot.
Easy question. What do you think is going to be the future of the Biden with the Democratic Party? Obviously, they were ostracized for what they did. Do you think there's a chance they'll be more like an elder statesman? And the reason I ask is the three of us did 16 years of advance for the Biden and the Clinton. Well, Mark, I was Dr. Biden became press lead when she was first lady. So I'm curious what you think about their future.
Also, Miami Dolphins.
Yes,
Miami
Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins.
But I also want to say, I think I read all the books, including 2024, and I think you were the fairest of Dr. Biden of all of them. So I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Great sourcing, and I think you were fair and had a better understanding.
I think that for now, Democrats are so angry at the Biden campaign, and that's an understatement, and they are directing their arrows at the people closest to him, and I don't think that goes away for a while. There are people, yeah, I mean, people feel lied to. I hear from them every day. I mean, donors don't want to write checks right now for that very reason. They're like, why would I open up my checkbook? This campaign completely lied to us. And I don't think that goes away for a while. I think that it's very real, very palpable, and 6 months into the Trump administration, it's still what people are calling me about. So they're still so frustrated about it. And people, there was one source who worked for Biden who called me one day and said, instead of him going on this tour that he's on right now and talking to people and doing this media tour, he should really take a page from Jimmy Carter and do good work and, hang a little low for now.
He doesn't have the time to do that.
No. Yeah. But
I've talked about that. And just,
yeah.
He doesn't have 30 years.
No.
Well, let's hope that he does. But to your understandable point.
Mark, you have a question.
Go ahead. Let him finish it. Everyone turn.
I want to go back to the issue of whether there should have been a primary, because in essence you answered it by saying she wasn't able to answer the question about why she was running. And the one thing that primaries do is they sharpen candidates. And I'm reminded of Ted Kennedy when they asked him why he was running. He couldn't answer the question. It was mush. And all of your arguments have been, that she just didn't have a message. But primaries do that for you, and the people that emerge from primaries.
But was there really time though for that?
Well, so I absolutely think you're right. I can tell that you've had some experience in politics.
And she held town hall meetings.
And honestly, I think we're flattered that you came to the event tonight. You're absolutely right. Primaries do that. And I think there were a lot of Democrats who believed that Joe Biden in 2022 should think about whether or not he should run. And the White House is really powerful. You know, when you run the White House, when you won the last election, and you've put all of the people in place in the Democratic National Committee, and all of the delegates to the last convention were your delegates, and all of the pollsters are looking for work from you, and like, it's very powerful. And they were able effectively, you know, on a purely political level for Biden, very effectively to keep everybody else from even thinking about running against him. You know, Gavin Newsom was going to run, and Whitmer was going to run. All these people were going to run, and they didn't run. And the Democrats didn't get a choice. And by the way, Jen O'Malley Dillon and the other folks at the White House did a really good job of rejiggering the primary calendar so that South Carolina would go first. It was another threat, right? Biden will win South Carolina governors if you get in. So I think you're right. I mean, yeah, primary does sharpen those arguments. And we don't usually see president's primary. And when it's happened in the past, it has not been a successful endeavor, and it has usually hurt the party of power. You mentioned Ted Kennedy before. That 1980 campaign was pretty devastating, I think, to Jimmy Carter. So, I mean, yes, I think you're absolutely right in the general premise. I'm not sure how they would have been able to put that together, you know, for a 3-week, 4-week, whatever it was before the convention blew off. And I think Kamala Harris' ability to wrap up so many endorsements so fast was an indication that a lot of other people did not think that that was something that could bear fruit.
Let's do 2 more. Go ahead.
Yes. I was thinking about, number one, is what do you think the future then of the Democratic Party is now? Because you see now what people are saying, it's flailing. Nobody knows what message they have. Sure. And number 2 is her vice president. It seemed to me that everybody's saying why shouldn't she pick the governor of Pennsylvania? She at least could get Pennsylvania. And I thought that maybe he would upstage her, that she would feel like he looked better than she did.
Yeah. On the Democratic Party piece, I mean, that's my beat right now, the rebuilding of the Democratic Party. And it's not going well. I mean,
no.
It doesn't have an identity. It doesn't have a leader. It's rudderless. People don't know if they should be, you know, shifting left or right or center. And those are all things that are, you know, bubbling up even today. There's deep frustration, as I mentioned earlier, about the previous campaign. And so I think right now Democrats are almost in therapy. They're trying to kind of figure out.
Circular firing squad therapy.
All right, let's do 1 more if you don't mind. I'll just go in the back there. Go ahead.
Biden decided that Kamala would run instead of him. So well. So what I'm asking is, do you think that the results would have been different if Biden had been the nominee instead of Kamala?
Yes, there would be enough Republicans in Congress to expel all of the Democrats. The short answer to your question is the Democrats would have lost by a lot more if Biden continued to be on the ballot.
Well, we'll just wrap it up. If you want to ask another question, you're going to have to buy a book.
But we will answer questions for anyone who buys a book.
But I do hear some shifting around. I probably talked more than I should have. So thank you, folks. Give a round of applause.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you all so much. Can we give another round of applause? Thank you so much. And we're not going to anyone's views. Folks, the books are for sale behind the counter. The signing is going to be on the other side of the store in the other room. So after you buy your book, head on over there. Thank you so much for coming.
As long as we have elections. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Really marvelous. Excuse me. It is the best book I've read on that.
Thank you.
And I knew Teddy White.
Oh yeah, I was rereading the first of his books just a couple weeks ago because I kind of wanted to, because everybody compares us, and they got me into this in the first place, and so I was rereading this. It's just so good.
But it's the same kind of narrative.
Yeah, but he had so much access.
Yeah.
I mean, now everybody's got their story, so you really have to work to get past the narrative. Thank you.
You did.
Really appreciate it.
Congratulations.
We have something we might want to talk to you about, Amy and I, for a project, a future project. Is there a good way to get in touch with you this year?
Yeah, let me give you a card.
Did you think about doing something with AI, like Dr. Chopra, the physician?
No.
You didn't think about it, or you don't know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. We didn't think about it.
Why don't you want to do something? Take all your books and make an avatar of you and the other authors, and let people interact with it and give you feedback so you can use it for your next project.
Well, we get feedback, through social media and through Amazon and stuff.
But you don't feel comfortable to involve AI with us?
Hi.
Leslie Visser.
Yes, I know. How are you? Yeah, in New Hampshire. I'm so flattered that you remembered me.
Actually, I have to all anytime her daughter she's doing TSC to FSU.
Okay.
So she's reading. So we all like.
Yes, you want to put it in the trash?
And just throw it. What did he say?
He said no. He doesn't want to do that.
I told you.
Why?
They like that. Because later on, when
He said on social media they speak to a lot of people. They communicate with a lot of people on social media.
it's almost like that. Danielle's husband,
And he doesn't want to do it on AI. And he knows what it is. I asked him, do you know Dr. Chopra and the physician? He said yes.
He's very smart, that one. You can tell he's extremely smart.
But he didn't want to tell me why he didn't want to do that. Huh?
He'll be out of a job.
You think that it will replace him?
Not replace him, but he loves it. He loves the writing.
No, but it's not writing, it's about...
No, but they love that personal effort. And you can see that he basically dominated her. You know what I mean? He really...
But why do they object so much to AI? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, one is they're good writers to begin with.
But do they think it will replace them, or it will take something away from them?
It's like she writes music, and she's really great in music, and she really just loves the process of writing music. It's almost like why do you fuss with all your projects, with figuring it out? Because you love the process a lot. Like, what are you taking an umbrella? How many umbrellas have you taken? And if somebody looks at that, they would say, what are you wasting your time with fixing umbrellas? But there's something about the process that you love. And they love the process. Where can I throw this? Can I open it?
Just put it on the side. Can you help me, Rhonda?
I told him that it just doesn't fit. They like the...
But I want to explore the reasons.
Did you hear what I said?
Yes.
What did I say?
That they love it and they think it will take away from them.
It's like those guys that edit. You said, why not do the podcast? Why not
Did
record?
you see this bitch that kept bothering me?
Let's take a walk before it rains. What do you think?
But I want to go to the bicycle shop to see. I think this is close already.
It's closed. It's after 8.
What time do they close?
I think 7 or 8.
So let's go home. I'm afraid that I left things outside.
Okay, before the rain.
Yes.
So we're on the 4th floor. Take a while till we find somebody to sit.
Right.
So what do you think?
I thought it was excellent.
It was outstanding.
I was.
Yeah.
I thought so.
I had no plans to buy the book.
But really?
But I bought the book.
So what do you think is going to happen to the Democratic Party?
Oh my God.
You know, I did everything I could do to keep this fool from getting elected. I'm retired. But good. This is what the country wants.
Yeah, right.
God level. I'm out of here. You know. Best wishes to all of you.
Oh, why?
Where's the
About the presentation.
4th floor?
I thought that was good. He was especially, you know.
Yeah, I thought they were good. They didn't mince words. They said.
No, I think it was good. It's just good.
What did you like the most about their presentation in the book?
What did you think?
Well, I liked the most was their honesty.
Yeah,
They were like, you know, they don't have, the Democrats don't have a vision.
Which they don't. When you look at it, he won. I mean, you couldn't beat him. I mean, it's such a crazy man who couldn't come up with a coherent message. And even his messages are so ridiculous, but he had a message, you know. But how hard is it to get a message?
Well, and he ridiculed.
I know.
She had no punch back.
Right.
But they didn't give us a chance to pick our candidate.
Yeah, I know.
And even though it was so obnoxious that some people just couldn't stand him and voted against him, but that was not enough.
No, but I think that's what it was simple. That's why I said I think, you know, the governor of Pennsylvania, when he was speaking, he had a message.
He did.
You know what I mean? He was stuck.
He could have won this thing.
Yes, simple. He won. You're right. Simple. President. Right.
They made the mistake not to make it like a mini re-election.
Because I mean, if he was there, you know, when you saw him, you said, yes, I understand. Every person can understand.
I do think that we needed a man to run as president.
What?
Because I think people relate to that more.
Yes.
And he was a young, energetic, successful man.
I don't want any more old people. The old people.
Nobody, but I'm just saying, that's why I think she didn't pick him. Because he really...
Well, and also the Democrats didn't really endorse her. Obama was nobody was really behind her.
This is why they needed to do this mini election.
Primary.
So, if they'd have primaried,
a mini primary.
I think we had a chance.
Even a week.
Right.
Yeah. That was a big mistake.
Okay, but anyway.
See you next time.
Right.
Governor of Virginia, of Pennsylvania.
I remember that he was Jewish, right?
Yeah, he is Jewish.
I
Don't you
don't
remember they
remember.
burned his house in Passover?
Idiots everywhere.
Let's go before the rain.
Yeah. Maybe I can take my stuff back into the house. Keep going. it's interesting. I really want to find out why do all these people object to AI so much? And it's not that they don't know or they're stupid. Like this one is not so stupid. But he definitely didn't want to even think about it or tell me anything.
Well, it's like, what's his name?
No, you're going fine. Keep going straight and you will be ending up down at the ground level. No, you keep going and now make a right.
Right here?
Yes, and then keep going down.
Don't go, keep on, that's it, yeah.
But don't cut the corners, you almost hit the car.
You know, Elliot, the head writer of The Daily Show.
Yeah.
I talked to him about AI.
Yeah.
And he's also negative against it. But then I told him, how about if I give you $1 million?
Elliot was the engineer or the writer?
The writer.
Okay, you have to talk to somebody
No, wait a
with
minute.
a technical background.
No, technical background.
Make a right here.
No, it says
Or you can go straight.
It says do not enter.
Oh, okay, so go straight.
I followed this car.
Follow the car, good.
So he showed me his AI that they're working on. As a matter of fact, the Wall Street Journal.
Elliot did?
No, Evan did. He showed me his work. Nobody else was interested. He showed me his work that they used AI.
And what are they using AI for?
To do songs, to do the writing, to do the caricatures. They're playing around with it. He didn't want to tell me everything. You know, a lot of it is NDA, but he showed me.
But he's against it or for it?
He's for it. He's for a new project. As a matter of fact, Wall Street Journal just did an article how much Disney is using AI for all its characters, all the animation.
Yeah, this is a perfect example for where hallucination is part of the project.
So I said to Elliot, listen, he's giving a book on, he's writing a book on how to tell jokes, how to tell humor. So I said, listen, Elliot, if I gave you $1 million, say I hired you for $1 million, you would have to train the AI how to write jokes. And he said, oh, and then he said, you have somebody like that? And I said, I have plenty of people that give you $1 million. You know, he made like a half a joke about it. And I said, how would you train it? I phrased it in another way. Then he was interested. If I gave you $1 million, or $500,000, what I would have you do is train the AI. You know how to write jokes. You think, you know, that's your claim to fame, that you know there's a, you know, a way to do the punchline, the way, you know, there's a formula to it.
Yeah.
It would really be simple to do. I have to talk to somebody. Is there somebody that I can talk to?
Well, click a button there.
Well, click a button. Excuse me, ma'am, can you go out? Don't. Give me your ID and take out your stuff. Do something. Take this off.
Don't break it. Here, take my ID.
No, I need your.
Take. Go forward, she says.
You want me to go forward? What else do you need? You need my ticket? Thank you. Can I come forward? Yeah.
Be careful.
Just checking that it's the same.
It's good to see that they're taking it still.
It's great to be here. You're right across the street. You don't have to go beyond, you know?
Yeah.
And in the back there, you can't park there. Thank you so much, my dear. Isn't that perfect? What is perfect? My idea of hard pizza. Thank God for Mickey, huh?
Doesn't go in so easily.
Well, you get it done.
Try.
Don't get it done now.
See what
It's
I'm
got
doing.
with the sun, it got curled up so much.
Yeah, from the sun, you know.
Yeah, it's gonna rain this way.
amazing how they're also adamant against using this AI.
You see, what's her name? Amundo's.
Yeah, it's not fair. Now everybody that doesn't know any music,
Right, and anybody now can
she
write.
doesn't think that when she combines all her experience and knowledge with it, she can compete much more favorably with
Now,
people that.
Now every idiot can write songs.
Right.
You know, which they can now, but they're not as good as yours. The idea that those two guys, when they wrote that thing, that song that they wrote in my class,
Yeah.
it was fabulous because they started with the pitch. You know, he started
Yes.
with the tune, and the other one played the.
This would be great to do it in the Jacques seminar, you know, about music.
Which,
He does music industry or some kind of music AI. What did they call it? I forgot already.
all he wanted, he was very kind of rude if I didn't give him money. You know, that I needed.
Yeah, we don't need it really. It's not in our line of
I did it
business.
already over there. The
Yeah.
least with the, you know what I like?
And its quality is so bad.
You know what I like about the Smart City one?
Yeah.
That Bernardo.
Yes. He
No.
writes an article.
At least he has an article, and with our name,
Yeah.
and all he does is you can just take, he has the text, and you just tell AI, give me 5,000 words of this summarize. And that's what we did.
Yeah.
And then, you remember, CES gave me credit. They, hey, that's an article with both our pictures and our
Right.
names.
Right.
They were mopsy. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what I like about it, you know?
Yes.
Because they feel like it takes away from, they love the process and it takes away from them, you know?
Not really.
But that's what they feel. You
Yeah, I
understand?
know. And again, they're not like Dr. Chopra, that is an international authority. And also, he's talking about not something that really is hallucinative in nature.
No, it's the facts. What did they say in a meeting, in a behind-the-scenes meeting?
Behind closed doors.
Behind closed doors, and he made it like a joke. There were 5 people in the room, and 7 people said they were in the room. You understand? And like the other one, that Chaputo, or whatever his name is, with the gray hair, he tell me, it's like gossip. You know that Wiles, what's she like? You know what I mean? And that's,
Yoga is a good topic for hallucinative meditation, yoga. The whole thing is
what makes you happy?
hallucinative in nature. And what will you, when you do yoga, what you or meditation, what do you hallucinate about?
Right. What is your chance? It's like, what's his face? They told Robbie, you know, you have to chant what you need, and then if you don't get, and if you chant strong enough, you'll get it. And if you don't get it, it's either one or two things: you didn't chant enough, or that's really not what you need.
Yeah,
You
right.
got it?
Yes.
And he's mopsut with it. And Robbie says that he doesn't like to listen to bad things, so he doesn't listen to the news. There's supposed to be just happy thoughts around you. That's what they told him.
Be careful when you drive like this next to the parking vehicles. Some idiot can always back up right into you. You should be in the middle, that you have a little maneuverability. When they drive back like idiots, especially those in a pickup truck like that, will kill me in an instant. So if you don't care about yourself, just think also about me. That I'm sitting right next to the passenger, where they will be banging in to the door, you understand? If you're too stupid to understand it, I have to explain it to you explicitly, and maybe you'll understand.
And then Shalala showed up. I liked how you said to me, that looks like Shalala.
She aged a little.
She said, give her credit.
She doesn't change much, really.
She's 83 years old. What do you want from her? You know, she's 10 years older than you. She's the same age as Joel.
Can you imagine that?
Give her credit. She's sitting there. Doesn't look like she even has a walker or whatever.
Her mother.
Very lasted over 100.
Yeah.
She also is an idiot.
Shalala is?
Yeah, she goes and tells them, I'm for, what did she call herself, for Miami-Dade, I'm for liberal communism or something.
To whom did she say it?
Yeah, in one of her lections, she's for liberal socialism or something. That's all the Cubans need here. Communism and socialism.
Did they force her to resign here or what?
Where?
From UM. Why
No,
did?
she's still teaching.
Oh, she's still teaching, but
Yeah.
no, from the presidency. Why did she?
She wasn't a president. What do you want?
She wasn't the president of UM.
Yeah, and she decided to step down.
Why?
Yeah, they got rid of her. I don't know. Probably her shenanigans. Also, who's
With
on
the
the
books
board?
and with
No, the board is Cubanos. There's a lot in the trustees, and they didn't like a Democrat too. They wanted to get
And she
rid-
did some shenanigans with the real estate there, the shopping center that the university acquired, and there was another deal with the hospitals.
She bought that Fakakta, instead of buying Doctor's Hospital, she buys that Fakakta Hospital downtown, and it was losing money. And also, that medical school was in the red, like, the medical school brings 95% of the revenues. 95%, and it's losing in the red. How can you lose? All that stuff, you can run.
Because you have a lot of waste and
basically don't run it.
fraud and all kinds of nonsense.
The one thing about the new president, he brought in the CPA. Tell me how to fix the books, or at least cook the books. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what he do is he basically told them, these are the profitable items and these are the non-profitable items. You know, nobody do accounting. Spend more time on doing this and not doing that, or whatever it is. Let people, see, which departments should you do more surgeries? Which ones should you promote? Which ones give you profits? Which ones are losers? You know what I mean? It takes a lot of rocket science to be a brilliant CPA to figure that out. And even the partner can bring in his own friends that are...
It's yellow lights, yeah.
That are forensic accountants even to find out where are the frauds and stuff. Where the way. It was run poorly. You remember, no controls whatsoever. The government, you know how the government is so lax and incompetent. When they find egregious stuff in the transplants and all those other departments that the government tells them they got to shut down. You can imagine how egregious it is, They go to where it's already in the press, And she was the big healthcare expert, she's from the health, what's his name? Clinton's, she was the health secretary. You know what I mean? She should know about healthcare. Do I want to keep on going or make it left?
Make it left.
No, I'm
No? Okay, so now where are we now?
Granada.
Okay, Granada Boulevard and Ponce de Leon intersection. This is right at a catty corner, or in the next corner is the University of Miami, and you can see from here the tennis courts.
Well, it's the corner of the University property.
As we cross the street, Granada Boulevard, there's a 25 speed limit because students are walking here all hours of the day. Here you see one of them, and the police is here too. This is already the parking lot on my right-hand side of the University of Miami. Now I'm filming, cross-body filming, with a neck, wallet, phone and badge holding lanyard supported by an easel mounted on the chest. Here you see University of Miami signs, and you see the green, what are they called, these bars, the green bars? The entrance to the University of Miami, and there in the catty corner is the Hillel, University of Miami Jewish Students Organization Center.
And look above, you see the moon.
above where you see the moon, and this is US 1. And we crossed US 1, and now we are driving east to Villa Capri. Here we make a right-hand turn on, what street is this? How?
Madruga.
Madruga. I think you can pass this guy, no? One of these Ubers. You can see on my left-hand side construction of an apartment, little apartment building. On my right-hand side is Danny's restaurant.
Oh, you want to pick? Oh, it's closed.
And the University Shopping
Pharmacy
Center.
is closed. Remind me to put the.
Doesn't matter. I don't need it now.
No,
So
but
tomorrow,
it's good to remember.
mañana.
But it's good she gave you some.
And here we get to the stop sign.
At least she
And
covered it. At least you can eat.
Catty
Back
corner for me. You can see the Citibank, the University, metro station stop, and the bridge over US 1, and then is the continuation of the University Shopping Center, and here is Villa Capri, condos, building. We're going to make a right-hand turn after the stop sign and turn into the main entrance of Villa Capri. And on the left-hand side, you see another condo building. On the right-hand side is Villa Capri, and the main entrance of Villa Capri condo building. You see somebody parked the car here to deliver some goods. This concludes our session tonight. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later when we will continue. Thank you. Bye.